Going on a trip with my sister was meant to be a refreshing break for me to reset and return to my small family of 3 revived. But instead, coming back turned into a nightmare. My husband of 9 years betrayed me, and our daughter in a way I couldn't forgive, and that caused us to leave. I never thought a quick 2-day trip would be enough to unravel everything I believed about my marriage. When I left Friday morning, I felt content, even a little smug, thinking John and Lila would enjoy a weekend together. But when I stepped through the front door Sunday night, I was met with something completely different. I'll be honest, when I agreed to leave my daughter Lila with her father John for the weekend, I only had high hopes for their bonding. I pictured them making pancakes on Saturday morning, watching movies, and just having the kind of quality time they didn't always get when I was around. I was gone for a quick girls' getaway with my sister Tanya, but it was enough time for my husband and our daughter to end up with a destroyed bathroom door. When I got home on Sunday, the sight of Lila's hug and John's forced smile felt off from the beginning. My eyes immediately landed on the bathroom door. The top half of it was practically shredded, as if someone had taken an axe to it. Splintered wood was scattered on the floor, the door handle dangled loosely, and the lock was smashed into a heap of metal. None of them would tell me the truth about what had caused all the damage. "What happened to the bathroom door?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. I looked from my husband to Lila, hoping one of them would have an explanation that made sense. Instead, John looked stressed and shifted his weight while avoiding my eyes. Our daughter wasn't any better, as her awkwardness about the situation was quite visible. "Oh, it got stuck while I was in there, so I had to break it open," my husband said, his voice low and unconvincing. "No big deal." I blinked, trying to process what he said before asking, "You got locked in. Why didn't you call someone? And where was Lila?" My daughter stood silently by the stairs, eyes glued to the ground. Normally she would have jumped in with some sort of comment, something to explain away the weird tension in the room. But she didn't. It was like she was a statue, rooted in place, and that made my heart race. "Lila, what happened?" I asked gently. She glanced at her father and then back down at her shoes. "Nothing. I'm tired. Can I go to bed now?" "Sure, sweetie," I said softly, my gaze still fixed on John. "We'll talk about this in the morning, my angel." After she ran upstairs, I turned back to my husband, waiting for a real answer. But he just shrugged and went to the living room, leaving me alone with my thoughts. Something wasn't right. I knew John was hiding something, but I was too exhausted from the drive and the trip to press him. I needed a night to rest and figure out how to handle whatever this was. I figured I'd tackle it with him privately the next day. In my mind, I reckoned that maybe Lila had locked herself in and was embarrassed by it. That's why they were hiding it from me. With a lot on my mind, I decided to take out the trash before heading to bed, something John clearly hadn't bothered to do. The bags were overflowing, and a faint, unpleasant smell seeped from the kitchen. As I dragged them outside, I almost bumped into our next-door neighbor, Dave. "Hey Taylor, I'm glad I caught you after your trip. There's something I wanted to get off my chest," Dave stated before I even had a chance to reply. "I'm really sorry for what happened," he continued without taking a breath, his face etched with genuine concern. "I swear I didn't know who was inside when I slammed the door into pieces." "But to be honest, that piece of expletive should pay for it," Dave expressed in anger before catching himself. "Look, if you need someone to talk to, Taylor, I'm here," he concluded his rant. My confusion must have shown because Dave frowned and hesitated. "What are you talking about?" I asked, feeling floored by his words, the unease in my stomach growing stronger by the second. Realizing that I didn't know the truth and he was going to have to tell me, Dave looked away, scratching the back of his neck nervously. "Look, I wasn't trying to pry. Lila came running to my house on Saturday crying, saying something was wrong with her father. She told me she heard strange noises coming from the bathroom and thought he was hurt or something. She was so distressed that I didn't even think about it and rushed over and I heard banging and other sounds. I thought something terrible had happened, so I did what I thought was best. I forced the door open after fetching my axe." I stood there, holding my breath. "What did you see, Dave?" His eyes met mine. filled with sympathy. John wasn't alone. There was a woman in the bathroom with him. They both screamed at me to get out. My blood turned to ice. My legs wobbled, and I had to grip the side of the trash can to stay upright.
What?
What did Lila see? Nothing, thank God. She was too scared to go near the bathroom. I pulled her outside and told her to stay with me until things calmed down. Dave's voice softened. "I'm sorry, I thought you knew and wanted to offer my support." "You did the right thing, Dave. Thanks for all your help. I will reach out to you if Lila and I need anything." I stumbled back into the house, my mind a whirlwind of anger and disbelief. Another woman in our home, with my daughter in the next room. I felt nauseous as I walked through the darkened hallway, each step heavier than the last. My heart broke when I thought of my sweet 7-year-old panicking after unknowingly discovering that her daddy wasn't in danger. He was busy betraying our family. John was sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the TV as if everything was perfectly normal. That almost peaceful sight made me snap. "Who was in our bathroom, John?" I demanded, my voice shaking with fury. He didn't even flinch. His eyes flickered to mine for just a moment before dropping to the floor. "What are you talking about?" he asked innocently, annoying me further. "Don't you dare lie to me," I shouted. "Dave told me everything. Who was she?" His shoulders slumped. For a moment he looked like a defeated man, like someone caught in the act with no way out. Then he took a deep breath and said, "She's a friend." "A friend," I repeated, disbelief and disgust warring within me. "You brought another woman into our home while I was gone. And Lila, our daughter, thought you were in trouble, John. Do you have any idea what you put her through?" It wasn't like that he insisted, his voice rising. It was just. "I don't want to hear your excuses," I cut him off. "What kind of father does that to his daughter? What kind of man does that to his family?" He had no answer. The silence stretched between us like a chasm, too deep and too wide to cross. All the love I'd once felt for him vanished in that moment, replaced by a cold, bitter resolve. The betrayal and the fact that it happened right in our home with our daughter present was too much to bear. I couldn't stay. Not after what he'd done. I turned and headed for the stairs, pausing only to look back at him one last time. "I am going to pack our things," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I'm taking Lila, and we're leaving in the morning." John stood up, his face a mask of panic. "Please, let's talk about this. I made a mistake, but we can work it out." "No, John. There's no working this out. You've broken something that can't be fixed." With that, I left him standing there, surrounded by the wreckage of what used to be our life together. The next day, I finished packing a few bags for Lila and myself. Her father tried to talk to me again, his words desperate and pleading, but I didn't listen. I was done listening. Lila deserved better than this, and I was determined to give her a chance at a new beginning, even if it meant tearing our family apart. Before leaving, I thanked Dave for his honesty with a bottle of whiskey and a simple note: "Thank you for being brave enough to tell the truth." After filing for divorce, I sat in the quiet of our temporary apartment, watching Lila play with her toys in the living room. Her smile was back, and she laughed with a lightness that hadn't been there before. It made me realize that this was the right decision, no matter how painful it was. It wasn't the ending I wanted, but at least I now knew who John truly was. He was a man willing to break his family and lie to his daughter's face, and I knew I couldn't stay one more minute in that broken home.